Hey, what's going on, guys? What's going on, guys? I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I'm going to address something real quick that has to do with Jonathan Majors. Jonathan Majors, the big megastar who was just accused of, some pretty ugly interactions with a woman. Let's just say that. There are some people who are saying that it's racism and it's wrong because Jonathan Majors is being treated by the media and by the world differently from Dana White. Dana White is the head of the UFC, who also had a crazy situation with a woman. I'm gonna explain to you why that's not the same thing. There's an economic lesson here, believe it or not, and it really shows that as Black people, I don't think we understand the difference between being a manager and being an owner. I'm gonna break this down for you, so get comfortable, buckle up a seatbelt. We're gonna get started on drboystv.com right now.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to drboystv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I want to say what's up to everybody. Shout out the city that you're from. Let me know what city you're from. Please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. Put your B1 in the chat. Let me know that you're Black first and that you love your community and that you care about your family, care about your kids, and you like the idea of Black people being intelligent and having intelligent conversations and proactive as opposed to reactive conversations and conversations from a position of strength as opposed to a position of victimhood. I have never been a victim in my life. I'm not interested in being a victim. I don't want anybody to put me in the victim box. So you ain't gonna see a whole lot of bitching and complaining on this channel. You're gonna hear a lot of analysis though and breaking things down. Now, how many of you have been following? Give me a yes or no. How many of you have been following along with Jonathan Majors and his recent situation, the whole arrest and arraignment and all that on some crazy situation that he had with his girlfriend over the weekend? Anybody follow that? We talked about that a little bit on this channel, and that was an important conversation because there's a whole lot of discussions about life as a Black man. And especially when you're dealing with when you're dating a Becky, you know that there is going to be a natural way that the world views your interactions with that woman, and even if she's not white, you still are going to be seen in a certain way if you are a Black male, and we know these things. Now, at the same time, if Jonathan Majors is guilty of any of the things that he's accused of, then all bets are off. I cannot defend anybody who would ever hit a woman. I don't believe in hitting women. Even if a woman hits me, I'm not gonna hit you back because I'm 200 and something pounds and I got a lot of muscle. So me punching out a little woman wouldn't make any sense unless I absolutely was forced to. And I can't even imagine too many scenarios where that would be true. Now, I'm going to ask y'all another question. Give me a yes or no. How many of you have seen some of the people, any of the folks online that have compared Jonathan Major's situation to this man that I'm putting on screen, this man named Dana White? Has anybody seen any of the comparisons between Majors and Dana White? Let me tell you who Dana White is as we talk about, as you answer my questions. You give me a yes or no in the chat. Dana White is he's the head of the UFC. Right now, he's the president of the UFC, which is Ultimate Fighting Championship, a global mixed martial arts organization. And so Dana White has been a subject of a lot of conversation because if you recall, or maybe you don't know, Dana White was accused of an equally ugly situation involving a woman, involving hitting a woman, and he apologized and all that, but he didn't receive sort of any significant punishment. A lot of people felt that he should have been removed from his job. He should have been bashed in the media a lot more, etc. And I get that, right? I totally understand that. I get the idea that a white guy might get a different kind of treatment from a Black guy. However, I cannot agree with that statement without also having a more logical, more honest discussion about this too, in terms of facts that I see. I can't make myself dumb enough to believe that something is unconditionally true without understanding some of the nuances of that argument. I can't make myself dumb enough just to agree with something just because that's what other people say, or just because that's somebody's emotional reaction. So there's and it actually was brought to my attention by Bishop Talbot Swan on Twitter, who put that up. And of course, a whole bunch of people are like, yeah, this racism. Okay. Sounds good. Yeah. Okay. Another reason, white man wins again. Foiled by the white man. White man always wins. Those pesky white folks, they always dominate us. We can't do nothing as black men. We ain't got no power. We just weak as hell, man. That white man. I don't know how that feels to women. Like, seriously, ladies, give me a yes or no. How do you feel? How would you feel if you had a man where every time something went wrong in his life, he said it was because the white man has more power than him? How does that make you feel? Does that make you feel like, okay, I'm with the right guy? This is a strong man right here. Like, really, how would you feel, really, if every single day I got up and said, gosh, I would be taking care of my kids, but that dang the pesky white man done caused me to not be able to take care of my children. I would be able to buy you something nice, baby. I can't buy you nothing because the white man won't let me. If he give me permission, I could do a lot for you, but I can't. I would have read some books, but I didn't read no books because the white man don't let you. If you're black, they see you read the book, they slap it out your hand, right? I don't know how y'all feel. But I personally, from what I can guess, again, I'm not a woman. I don't understand everything about women. I never will. But I'm guessing that that's probably not so appealing. And I really encourage men to be very careful about how often you spend your time complaining about how great the white man is, honoring him, celebrating him, tickling his balls every chance you get to talk about how he's always got more power over you and how he ruins your life at every available turn. I don't think that's good for us. It's very fucking unhealthy. It's so unhealthy. So stop it, please. But anyway, so I saw, I saw Talbot Swan's little thing, and it's like, if he wasn't black, he would have got the same treatment as Dana White. The media made him more. Okay, I understand. I respect what you're saying, and I'm not saying it's not true at all. But here's what I need y'all to understand: a couple realistic facts here. I hope I can tell you the truth and still be loved and at least be heard, even if you don't agree. You don't have to agree with me. I just want to make this point. Give me a yes or no. How many of you even really knew who Dana White was before the Dana White situation with the woman and all that? How many of y'all knew who he was? I know some of y'all watch UFC. Some of y'all knew exactly who he was because you watch UFC so much that you know who the president is. He's not even a famous UFC fighter. He's the president of the league. So some of y'all did. But how many of you, honestly, give me a yes or no. How many of you really knew if I'd said, yeah, Dana White, Dana White just started a new business. How many of you would have known? Okay, a few of you are saying yes. I respect that. I respect that. I know I didn't know who the fuck he was. I didn't care. My wife didn't know. My kids, if I'd said his name to my family, not one single person would have known who the president of the UFC is, because they can't even tell you who the champion of the UFC is. They can't even tell you who the best UFC cage fighter is on the planet, because cage fighting it's not boxing. They can tell you who Floyd Mayweather is, but they can tell you who Muhammad Ali is, but they can't tell you who's the world champion cage fighter right now. Does anybody know who the world champion cage fighter is at this particular moment? The greatest cage fighter on the planet. I mean, talking about making millions of dollars cage. I don't know. Most people don't know, right? But let me ask you another question. How many of y'all knew about Jonathan Majors? How many of y'all knew about Jonathan Majors after he was on the cover of Ebony magazine? How many of y'all knew about Jonathan Majors after he just starred in two of the largest, most financially lucrative blockbusters on the entire planet? How many of y'all knew? How many of y'all heard of the movie Ant-Man Quantumania that came out through How many of y'all have seen Marvel's Avengers movies on any level? How many of you have seen any of the Creed movies? This other billion-dollar franchise where Majors is the headliner for that franchise. Answer that too. And I'm making this point to say that a comparison between Jonathan Majors and Dana White is literally apples and oranges. It is a kind of famous guy with a guy who is mega famous, who is at the peak of his career, that is literally like killing it in Hollywood, like top 2, top 3, next Denzel Washington type caliber. It ain't the same. It ain't the same. Now, if you wanted to compare Jonathan Majors and what happened with him to another Marvel star, maybe the guy that played Iron Man, I can't remember his name, but I know, but y'all would know his face, Robert Downey Jr., that would make sense to me. If you compared Robert Downey Jr. to Jonathan Majors, I would get that, right? Then we can have a conversation. But when you're just looking for racial bias under every tree, it minimizes when real racism actually happens. It makes you not credible anymore. It's like, oh well, you're gonna see racism everywhere all the time because you've adopted the victim box, and so every time something happens, you're gonna go straight to the racism issue, and that's gonna kill the whole conversation, right? So again, not to say there's not racial bias. We know how the racist the media can be. We know about all the biases that are out there. But if you're jumping to any sort of illogical argument that's out there, you're not necessarily helping yourself, nor are you helping the cause of Black people on any particular level, in my opinion. Now, before I move on to the real heavy part of this, the really important part of this, I'd like for you to take 1 second. Please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. I want to remind you I have a new book out. It's called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. It's an Amazon bestseller in the public finance category. So feel free to go take a look at that. And if you're interested in actually improving your life and not just complaining about how great white people are. But then second of all, if you go to my website, boycewatkins.com, I put a list of AI stocks that you can invest in. It's a free list, so feel free to go to boycewatkins.com. There's a free list there and a bunch of other stuff there as well. All right, so here's the second piece. I heard people say, that Dana White should have been fired for his whole situation with the woman. Should he? Yeah, okay, I don't care. Yeah, you're right. All right. But one of the things that you don't understand, some of us don't understand the difference between being an employee and being an owner of a company. We don't understand that. We don't understand the difference between, I know we talked about this earlier, we don't understand the difference between appearing to have power and actually having power. Dana White ain't just an employee of the UFC. He's not JoJo coming in, who's the middle manager at the Taco Bell. He's not a guy who puts on a work uniform and just comes to work every day. Dana is he owns a substantial percentage of that league. If you take a moment and go read his bio, you will find that the UFC was purchased from someone else because Dana White, see, that's a Freudian slip. Dana White went and found the buyer for the company and they bought the damn league together. That, black man, is the difference between being an employee and owning the damn league. You used to have something called the Negro Leagues. You own that, but because you are Jackie Robinsonized, you spend 100 years celebrating the abandonment of something that you actually own, something that was your property. People can't fire you from a company that you own. You can only fire yourself. Some people get it. E40 gets it. E40 has been making music for 35 years because he ain't gonna unsign himself. He was rapping about it in the 1990s. He said, I give myself a record deal every year, even if my album sales ain't that good. So what I need you to get through your head is that there is a difference between being the employee and being the actual boss. Jonathan Majors is an employee of Marvel. There's nothing wrong with him being an employee of Marvel. That's a pretty damn good job. He's a damn talented employee of Marvel. Marvel's invested heavily in him, and one day maybe he'll own some things, but he's young. He's just getting started. So yeah, you're right. If they decide, you know what, this guy's behavior is out of pocket, we're going to let him go. We're going to put him on the side. We're not going to sign him anymore. We're going to blackball him from Hollywood. They can do all of that because the Jews own Hollywood. They created Hollywood. God bless them for that. This is not anti-Semitic for me to say that. It's just true. Go read the book, How the Jews Invented Hollywood. It's not anti-Semitic. It just talks about how Warner Brothers and Universal Pictures and Fox Studios were all created by Jewish people who didn't want to work for somebody else, who didn't want to get fired on their day off, who didn't want to sit around complaining about how somebody else was treating them. They said, we're going to create our own space. Y'all Negroes sitting here with so-called billionaire rappers and multi-millionaire celebrities performing on gigantic stages with 100,000 white people calling yourself, who are cheering you on as you call yourself the N-word, are celebrating people who've never taken the time or had any of the vision necessary to create any significant entities of their own that can employ more than 10 or 20 black people. Dana White went out and bought the damn league. He does not own all of the UFC, but he owns enough of the UFC that if somebody tried to come in as his boss, see, y'all used to always having a boss. You're used to being punished like a little child when you misbehave. You're used to that. You expect that. That's the slave in you. But if somebody walked up in his office and said, son, your behavior was highly inappropriate, and we just feel that you need to go. You need to step down from your position immediately because we're not going to tolerate that kind of behavior here. He would say, get the fuck out of my office. He would literally be able to say, get out of here. You can't fire me from something that I own. You can't fire me from Boyce Watkins Enterprises. My name is on the damn door. I could piss on the entire building and you still can't get rid of me. I do whatever the hell I want. So stop it with the comparisons. Well, you know, he should be fired from his job because what he did was just as bad with the black men. I get it. Maybe he should be fired. But black man, that's why I tell you that the number one skill you can teach a young black boy in this country, and the girls too, is how to own their own business. If they have their own business, they can't be fired from their job. You can't be laid off. You can't be downsized. There is no like microaggression and the racism. It just hurts my feelings. It makes me feel bad and it makes me sad. And they treat me. Well, you know what? I'm sorry. I come from the show me state where literally my father would look at me and say, son, if it's that bad, why don't you walk away from the situation? Why do you keep walking into an abusive relationship? That doesn't even make any sense. That tells me that you lack the confidence or to walk away, or the skill to walk away, or the resources to walk away. There's something that's missing in your life if you will talk all day about how horrible a situation is, but still keep turning back to that situation whenever you're in need of comfort. Well, because it's familiar. Like Nuri Muhammad said, we are the only people who will sit and complain, who will blame the white man for 95% of our problems and then go give the white man 95% of our money. That don't make no sense. That don't make no sense. Shout out to Nuri Muhammad. I love that guy. He's if you see this Nuri, just know I'm always watching you, man. That's a leader right there. So I'm not here to disagree with anybody who thinks that Dana White got preferential treatment. Let's make that clear. I'm not here disagreeing with any of that. He did. If the tables were flipped, maybe it would have been a different outcome. But I'm also here to tell you that everything that you think is just it's just racism. Actually, you're right. It is racism. Because if white people own the company, they're going to probably take care of other white people more than they're going to take care of you. I don't know whoever put it in your head that your biggest liability is that somebody lied to you and told you that you live in a country where you as a black man can go work for a bunch of white people and they're going to treat you just like you're white. You're not white. Just like it would be ridiculous for a white kid to come and work with me and think that I'm going to relate to him as much as I'm going to relate to a young black man. That isn't going to occur. So there is bias, and what you got to do is you have to learn how to work bias in your favor. This whole illusion, fantasy of equality in a colorblind society, that there's nothing in the real world that justifies that kind of delusion. Nothing. When the Chinese spent 100 years making, or 50 years executing a 100-year plan for world domination, and at no point in that plan did they somehow make the assumption that the world was going to love Chinese people as much as they love themselves. At no point did they make the assumption that the world was going to cheer them on as they accumulated power. At no point did they say, well, gosh, we just hope that one day people will forget that we're Chinese and they're going to treat us just as if we were Russian. They make none of those assumptions. So in your power plan, for those who get it, everybody ain't gonna get it. Some people still stuck in that old, we gonna vote for the Democrats. The Democrats gonna get in office, and the Democrats they gonna give us fairness and equality and justice, and we're gonna go march on Selma and okay, go do all that. And I'm gonna sit back and watch how you keep doing the same thing and you make no progress. But for those of you that are building, the solutions are very simple. Educate yourself. Put as much knowledge in your brain as you can. Invest and save your money. Your money is your power. You don't give all your power away. Train your children to do the same. Work together as a family. Get together with the people that really have your back, that understand you, and start building a true power base that doesn't depend on you begging for power from other people. If you do those things, black, white, or otherwise, you will be fine. You do those things, 99% of the things that stress you out as a black person are going to disappear and go away. But if you stay in that victim box, it'll never work, because you're always going to be upset because somebody else did not solve the problem for you. That's my 2 cents. That's all I got to say. I got to go. I hope you guys have a great day. Bless you. And if somebody says you started off saying that it's not racism, but now you're acknowledging that it's racism. Oh, yeah, I acknowledge racism. That's why I don't work for white people. So, yeah, I think racism, if I'm a white man, I'm going to, and I run the business, I'm going to run it the way a white man would. And I respect that 100%. So, yeah, you're right. You're right. And for some people that you're going to be confused by that statement. But those of you who understand me know exactly what I'm talking about. I talk about racism more than anybody else on this planet, damn near. And I acknowledge it and I see it and I totally understand it. That's why I told you to walk away from it by building alternative systems and advocating for ownership so that you have control over your environment. So yes, I am talking about the racism. I see the racism, and I understand exactly why a person who's locked in the victim box is going to sit around frustrated and screaming like an angry 9-year-old girl until you actually grow some damn balls and get some real power, and then they can't fuck with you anymore. That's my 2 cents. I got to go. Have a good day, guys. Please hit the thumbs up button on your way out. And if you want some free stuff, there's some free stuff on my website, boycewatkins.com. I will see you guys soon. Have a great day. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to co-sign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.